Welcome to the Life of a Trendsetter show. This is your boy, Mike signing another one. This is episode 2. Today we're going to be chopping it up with Dwayne Treece, my guy, agent and owner of QSE Sports. It's going to be a good episode. Y'all tap in. Welcome to the Life of a Trendsetter show. I'm your host, Mike Harris, NFL and NIL agent, founder of the Prototype Sports Agency. Today's trendsetter happens to be somebody that I know very well. We've been rocking for a couple years. We talk often. Just such a great guy, somebody I truly consider a friend. He is a proud husband, a proud father. He's a lawyer, a business advisor. He's also running the show over at QSE Sports. He's also, in that regard, an NFL agent and an NIL agent. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Dwayne Treece.
Hey, Mike. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for having me on, man.
Absolutely, man. Like I say, I don't want the audience to think that I just kind of built you up. I think we met. I know we met at the Senior Bowl in Mobile in January of 24, right?
Yeah.
Or beginning of February, end of January, beginning of February 24, and just right away, just kicked it off. And just one of the smartest gentlemen that I could, like, if I had to think, like, who could I call if I had a question about anything sports related or anything else? You'd be one of those first calls, if not the first call. So, I just want to thank you first and foremost for your friendship, being able to come jump on the call. But I could really see you as a regular guest on the show, sort of like Vlad and how he had Boosie on the show all the time, some of his regular guests. So if this
Let me
works
ask
out
you this.
well,
Am I Vlad or am I Boosie?
I'm probably Boosie. I'm probably a little bit more Boosie because they always tell me that I'm a little rough around the edges, country boy from down in Mississippi. If y'all didn't know, but I'm cool with that. That's the way that I've been able to kind of cut my teeth out here in becoming a professional, sharpening my skills, but always staying true to me. And while we at it, why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about QSE Sports, about who you're representing, and just kind of what your goals are for the agency, kind of what you got going right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, more than one thing, just to backtrack a little bit, whatever. Born in Michigan, born in Detroit, raised in Southfield, kind of been around, bounced around a bit or whatever. Just from what life is, lived in California and Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, out in DC, but also a part of it is, Italy, France, Switzerland, and just the places that life take you. And so, I like to think that I can do all things. I've been in all those places or whatever to be able to relate to clients, from where they are all the way to where they're going. Sometimes people don't see the Boosie, whatever, but it's there, and it takes some getting used to, or really kind of chopping it up with guys like you, people that are sincere, whatever, that we peel back the onion and whatever, and we, like I said, we get to understand what our commonalities are. And so, I am, an NFL agent. I'm an attorney, graduate of Tulane Law. I like to tell everybody, for my alumni out there, but for those who know and those who don't know, and for those who don't want to accept it, Tulane Law is the #1 sports law program in the nation. Whatever, when it comes down to competitions or education on the in and outs of what sports law actually is. A select group go into agentry, some go into the front office, but it's a really good breeding ground for the types of people that you find and see, which is all across the board, whether it's NFL, MLB, NBA, whatever. There's a great commonality there. I kind of fell into that space or whatever, because that wasn't what I went to law school for. But doing that deal work, it's given me a great deal of experience. And topping that on to some life experience, not just having, NBA, but being in places, rooms, with people that are high, people that are low, people that are dirty, people that are clean, and knowing how to navigate those spaces. And so, I think I found a great commonality, with you, Mike, whatever, not just being down from Mississippi and knowing what Hattiesburg is and what it's like, but also, the places that we will go. So, it's always good to have good conversations and be around good people.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, you made me feel so good about the whole jack of all trades term because they say a jack of all trades is a master of none. And I've always kind of thought of myself as a jack of all trades throughout the years, but then you get to a point where you like, damn, I do need to master something. And so
Yeah,
that was kind of when I got into real estate over a decade ago, that was kind of my thought process was like, man, let me just go in and just kill it. Let me go ahead and master this. Now, for everybody that doesn't know, like you mentioned, your background being in law, you having, MBA, having a law degree, and not necessarily, I guess that wasn't the plan. It was to go into sports agency. This has always been my plan. And it was, I mean, at least since I was 21, 22 years old. And the common conception was, I guess everybody thinks that you have to, or used to think that you had to be an attorney or be a lawyer to become a sports agent. And so when I got to a point where I realized, okay, well, I don't have to become a lawyer. I can go and get my MBA, get the emphasis in sports management. That laid the foundation. But like you said, we both got roots, Mississippi, New Orleans. It was such a painful thing in terms of Hurricane Katrina and everything that happened with that sort of went down as I was getting prepared to graduate from college. And so I still had a few years in Hattiesburg at the time. But, New Orleans was a place that I would always find myself going to prior to Katrina. And now to this day, it's still one of my favorite places to go. It doesn't surprise me when you tell me that Tulane is number one. You said number one sports law program or number one
sports law.
sports law program. Just having
Mm.
one conversation with you, I think anybody could tell like you come from, somewhere that they know what they're doing and they breed trendsetters for lack of a better term. But I mean, I guess where we at right now in terms of like the NFL draft, I know both of us are preparing to kind of see who we gonna sign. And I mean, we recruiting a lot of guys as all agents are, but I think the reality of it is we sit down each year and just kind of understand that it is a numbers game, but it isn't a numbers game, but it is a numbers game. These are real lives, real careers, and real money on the table. So I don't want to
Yeah,
call it a numbers game, but at the end of the day, you gotta kind of be honest with yourself and understand that you're not gonna sign everybody. You're gonna
yeah,
potentially get a guy, maybe two or three if you do very well, and that's on par with a lot of the larger agencies. You and I just started out in this game a few years ago. I mean, for me, I'm in year three. For you, you've got a few more years of skin in the game than me. But what are you doing right now? I mean, we less than 45 days until the start of the new year, which is typically when guys are signing. Like, is that pressure on
right.
for you? How are you? What's some of your stuff
It,
that you're doing day to day, or what's some of your thoughts that's going through your mind as you getting prepared to maybe sign a handful of guys or maybe miss on a handful of guys?
yeah. It's weird, man, because it's every year is different. And so you can definitely carry lessons forward from the last year and build on it, but you always have to adapt as an agent. There's no real such thing as territories, whatever. It's not about your state, I'm saying, whatever. As you build good relationships, I'm saying, those relationships extend beyond where you are. And so you got to go get them sometimes. You can't be everywhere at once. And so then you got to hire, I'm saying, whatever, or you got to get there, you got to pull up. And so at that level, it's sometimes it's like, I don't know what the good analogy is, but, having, I don't know, fruit on the table. Like you pull the runner this way, whatever, and you try to get something on this side of the table, and this one fall off, and then you get something this side and that one fall off. At the end of the day, the best agents are marked not just about being able to recruit. You got to handle the business of it all. And when it comes down to handling like multiple guys, they generally say, one single agent can only probably manage the lives of three guys. And if you do more than that, that means you have to be super, organized. You got to see the field for what it is. And I don't think it's any different from hanging a shingle and starting your own law firm versus going to work for a big firm. At some point in time, you got to set up a business. You got to set up structure and order and processes, whatever, to make things easier, to get all that little small stuff out the way, so you can go and and major in what your core function is. If not, you just be balancing plates and looking forward to falling off. Um, ultimately, as much as I like to think that I'm process oriented, I come from an entrepreneurial background. Worked in Silicon Valley and a life before law school and everything like that or whatever. It's getting tight to the end, and that's when everything goes out the window, and you just make your calls and you pull up and you get to where you need to be, and you got to close. Whatever you have to make sure that what your message is, your mission, vision, values, that it resonates with the families and the young men that you about to walk them through a stage in their life.
Absolutely. I think that for me, I hear a lot of people kind of go back to, hey, stop comparing yourself to this agency or to this agent. You go out there and put the work in, put boots on the ground, go and make sure that, just like you mentioned, develop structure, develop some processes. This is one of those business. I think we were talking the other day on the phone, maybe about a week ago, and I said, well, it just isn't, there's not really a blueprint. Most other businesses and industries, there's somewhat of a blueprint. There's somebody there to tell you, hey, if you complete these particular steps in this order, or if you invest X amount of money, you should see a certain level of success. And this business just doesn't go that way. I mean, you can go out there and sign 15 guys, and none of them, unfortunately, work out. But then we can find ourselves in a position like we in right now, where it's like, okay, I mean, we technically cannot sign anyone to a standard representation agreement until the eligibility is exhausted. And so we know for some of these guys that'll happen as soon as a week from Saturday. And for some of these guys, that'll go well into January. But so I don't want to say, okay, well, you have a guy or you don't have a guy, but whether you feel really good about somebody or you don't, that could all change at the drop of a dime. So I think for me, it's focusing on doing what I need to do, making the calls that I need to make, putting the leg work in to go out there and really do the agent things is going to be what's going to determine what we're looking like in January. So I'm
Yeah,
excited, but you always, it's something that you never start worrying. I know I hear that across the board from agents alike.
yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. And even going back to the thing you're talking about as far as being the jack of all trades, I just realized that there's pieces in my process that honestly, just like having children, walking with these young men, like some of that stuff, it doesn't make sense until you get another person in your life, whatever. So going through and being a jack of all trades, one, it puts a few extra tools in your belt, that other people might not have. It makes you unique as an agent. And then some of the tools that you don't even know how to use, you have somebody that ends up having, some type of problem or issue or something that you've already been through. And it's like, oh, this is what God meant by it, what I'm saying, whatever. And it does make sense. And so, just embrace this place and space in life, and you get to learn a little bit more about yourself, and you get to learn more about the families, and it's a little social work involved. I'm saying, as much as we like to make it about X's and O's and football, it's a rich environment. I would, and it's tough because without guys like or I can say or Lee Steinberg or Orlando Arnold, it's competitive, and so there are people in the space that haven't been gatekeepers, and you show respect, even though we could be going out for the same guy, whatever, and hey, maybe we can partner with the same guy, or yet and still, even if we don't, whatever, I know that certain people have been along in my process, and it feels good to not be alone. You know what I'm saying, or to have
right.
a foot up or a hand up, whatever, when you can, and it was very, very, very far between. A lot of people do the opposite, so it's good to share spaces like this.
Right. It's a crazy business because I think that anybody watching this call right now, anybody that's has seen us together or just kind of know how we work, know the both of us, know that we will work very well. And I think that that's going to happen pretty soon, that we'll be working together with some of these guys that we bring on board, and manage them together and kind of utilize each other's strengths and complement each other very well. But you see it, but it's not talked about a whole as much as I would like to hear people talk about it and embrace. Hey, let's partner up. Let's, it's enough. There's enough student athletes out here that's doing big things that we can all work together. And why, at the end of the day, is my big question is why at the end of the day do people look at us like the sleazy car salesman, for lack of a better term? It's like you hear good guys always finish last, and you try to dispel that notion by going out and just being a stand-up gentleman, always doing everything right, being respectful, going out and even when you find yourself in a situation where you just got to take the high road, but you could take that low road. You got every reason to take the low road. You still take the high road. Why do us as agents, I mean, I don't know if you get this, but I feel like I get it in a lot of cases. It's like because I'm pursuing you to help
Mhm.
and or pursuing a parent's son or daughter to try to help in the agency space. There's so many things that they just don't know that they're going to need help with as this process comes. It almost seems like I'm looked at as the bad guy. Like, why are you calling me? Why are you
Yeah.
pursuing me? And that just doesn't make sense. I feel like that should be embraced more. What you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's some good and bad with it. I think we talked before. We shared a lot of some of those same things. Um, one thing is there are some bad actors in the field. And some people mean well and just don't know what the hell they're doing. And it's some dangerous people in this space because they know a little bit more than what you know. And as long as they can convince you that they know more than maybe you can they can sell you on that they have what it takes to get you there. And that's the lie, whatever. And
Yeah.
so my grandma always said, you scratch a lie, find a thief. It's a lot of thieves, it's a lot, especially in NIL. It's a lot of underqualified people, don't know what the hell they're doing, they don't know what the job is. And so and 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 the industry rewards that. If you get a first round, first pick, whomever, whatever, or 5-star this or whatever, you can kind of fake it. Like you can kind of ride them coattails in, and you can hit a lick. Whatever. We spend a lot of time educating. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Um, I think sometimes, for me, it is not honestly, like I said, my law school doesn't teach you how to be an agent. But also a lot of other things don't teach you how to be an agent. So a lot of people out there winging it, and you have to really feel your way through knowing the rules, knowing the collective bargaining agreement, knowing what's good, what's right, having a moral compass, and you have to feel out what your agency looks like. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. If you're hanging your own shingle, a lot of people don't have the ability to do that, whether it is setting those structures, or a lot of people, especially like in this day and age, they don't want to build nothing. For me, you know what I'm saying, I could work for a lot of agencies. I like to make money. And so I'm not tying myself to a name just for the sake of saying I'm doing that, because I made money before and we do this, whatever. So it got to be that thing, whatever. And so that's a lot of the things that that comes along with it. I think one of the other things is that guys that are actually talented, and pardon my French, whatever, but some guys are used to having people kiss their ass, you
Yeah.
know, and that's this piece of walking with an agent is somebody that you can trust. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, is going to tell you what you are, what you're not. You know what I'm saying? And let's work together on the things that you're not, so we can get there and fill those gaps. If you're a third round guy, let's get you up to be in a second round or whatever it looks like being. Or if we don't change your round, you know what I'm saying? Let's get you to a place where you're going to stick. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, we reverse engineering this scout report. And so there comes a level of humility with that. And sometimes that's, like I said, level setting, telling guys what they can work on. Sometimes it's saying, hey, look, I'm the goods. I'm not here to ride your coattails. I got this behind my back. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. I got this in my bag. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. This is what I've done. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. I'm something that's going to add to you. I'm not just here to take from you. And so sometimes they're not used to hearing those type of conversations.
And in a lot of cases they not. In a lot of cases they not. And that's sort of my whole thing is like I don't have any reason to come in and try to be a detractor. I've done very well in over a decade in real estate. I mean, we talking about north of 200 homes. We talking about other industries and other business that I've done, and same with you. You've carved out a career in law and a lot of other things that you didn't even bring up. And if we really talk about a jack of all trades, and so like you say, we've seen money. it's. I mean, neither of us are wealthy. I mean, we like to make money. We want to make a whole lot more of it, but we're not going to get out here and misrepresent ourselves. We're not going to lead you down the wrong path because we don't make money if you don't make money. And I think that's the thing that we have to continue to convey to each and every student athlete, each and every player that's already in the league that may or may not be happy with the agent or agency that they with, to each and every parent or parents. And I like the fact that NIL has come into place, but it has made it just that much more competitive. I mean, we talk about somebody like myself that for 20 years I've always had the dream to go out and become a sports agent. And when I finally decided to act on that dream, that's when NIL comes into play. And it's like, man, now you got just this many more agencies and agents to go out and kind of compete with to get these folks. And who knows what those conversations are looking like that you got to battle against and what they've told you. But I think just looking at going back to college football and the portal, one thing that changed this year was major in terms of last year we had the transfer portal. We had one window in December, and then we had another window in April. This year, they eliminated the dual transfer portal windows, and there's only going to be one window coming up in January. So, are you getting? When we talked the other day, I think you agreed with me, and you maybe even kind of spelled this out for me. But for those that are listening, I think that kind of break it down what what you think in terms of how this is going to play out from I see it as, or the way that we talked about it the other day, we see it as more of the the 4 and the 5-star highly recruited high school athletes. So kind of maybe go into this early sign-up period in December. Then next you may have your top JUCO recruits, your top FCS recruits, your top D2 or D3 guys that have went and just shine. And now it's time for them to move up a level. And then you'll have the actual transfer portal in January. And then in February, you'll see 3-star and below high school guys go ahead and, start putting pen to paper. Is that, kind of how you understand it? And from your conversations with the GMs and coaches, is that what the way that you think it's going to kind of play out?
I think so. I think right now, like we feel like it's priming the pumps. I'm having a lot of conversations with GMs say, hey, what's your list? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, we don't even have our full list right now. We're trying to figure this thing all the way out, but we got our guys, you know what I'm saying? And we want to make sure that we got the rest of the guys because we can attach them to those conversations. And I want to have those conversations 15 million times because it's about to be a bloodbath. And so right now, like I said, JUCO is pretty much finished, and then you're gonna hit, FCS is gonna be done with the exception of playoffs in about a week and a half, and then 2 weeks from there, FBS is about to finish with the exception of playoffs, and so it's gonna trickle down. But without that April window, you're gonna have to be really, really, really intentional about it's not a matter of when, because when has been chosen for guys now. It's about how. It's about having razor sharp execution, knowing what you're going to do, sizing up your visits. Are you going to have the amount of visits like that? So anything like that, like, hey, if you really get out the mud, you know what I'm saying? If you really have a mentality, a trenches kind of mentality, I'm cool with it. We thrive in chaos. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, like, hey, break out the oodles and noodles. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it is. And so, we see it, we see what's coming. We're not scared about it. We know that in the middle of if it's schools or programs that don't know what the heck they're doing because they got a GM for the first time and all these other things or whatever, it could be money flying around, you know what I'm saying, whatever, to the wrong place, to the not so wrong place, or whatever. It's going to be confusion in certain places, and some places that got their stuff together, it's not. And so, that's why we got our own scouts. I'm saying we run our own scouting reports. We got a good backing of sending out scouting reports to personnel that they watch their own film, but we got a good reporter. We're not sending bull back and forth to them, so it's making their job easier, making their life easier. We can send them our list, you know what I'm saying, real good, and it kind of cuts down on that. But this is going to be unique because it's not that the window is gone. It's not that guys can't enter the portal in April. It's just there's no classified listing that you're gonna see who's on the market, and because there's no classified listing of who's on the market, just like schools was going through having spring practices and spring game and usually pull office and saying, hey, we can't use you no more, that type of thing. Those things can happen, but they can't re-up the same. And so,
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing, that the reason why I even brought that up, is to just kind of get back to the basics. You need quality representation if you are a student athlete. If you're a parent of one of these student athletes, especially the high school guys, especially the guys that are going into the portal, you need quality representation because it's just so much confusion out there. I mean, this thing is changing so quickly. For anybody that isn't clear on exactly what NIL is, NIL, in the short, I guess the short answer to that is, a lot of cases we see Shadua Sanders, we see the Jujus and all of these other, your Travis Hunters with these big endorsement deals. But then we also know that, a lot of the money is also coming from the schools. But for anybody that doesn't know exactly what it is, it's broken into three main components. And the first component would be the brands and the endorsements. That's going to be the component that the least amount of student athletes are actually seeing. Maybe less than 2 to 3% of student athletes are getting a brand or an endorsement deal. And if they are, the major deals that you see in the Nikes and the Adidas, and those are far and fewer in between. They are out there, but those are really for what we in a lot of cases see as the superstar players. And then the other two components are going to be collective and revenue share. And so revenue share was something that was just recently introduced in 2025, went into effect in July, but it was something that has kind of went back and forth through the House settlement. Revenue share allows the schools to pay up to $20.5 million across all sports. They've got to, each individual school has got to look at their particular budget and figure out, okay, well, are we even able to commit $20.5 million? Whereas you have schools like Ohio State, your Texases, your Texas Tech, those type of schools, they do generate a lot of revenue football wise and with most of their sports across the board. So that they wish they could contribute more, but the cap is 20 and a half million. It's divided amongst the other sports. So you may have, let's say, 15 million going to football. You may have 2 million going to basketball, a million going to baseball. And just using that example, the third component being collective, this was what, most of the guys that were signing with these schools is what we would call pay for play free agency, where you have maybe an oil tycoon, or you have some other type of billionaire or a group of billionaires that have found a way to pool money together through their booster club and pay these players sort of pay for play. That has now started to be regulated when the House settlement got passed. Deloitte has a system that is vetting each and every deal above $600. So everything's got to go through NIL Go. It's got to get vetted. It has to qualify as a valid business purpose. So those are the three things that when Dwayne and I are kind of going out and we having a meeting with you as a student athlete or as a student athlete and your parents, and we saying, hey, it's wicked out here. This
yeah,
thing can come from you at all different angles. You're going to get people that's going to tell you this, and then the paperwork's going to get put in front of you. You're going to have terms on here that you may or may not be familiar with. In a lot of cases, I mean, you and I both know, like, I don't draw up many contracts. I pay the lawyers to do that. But, I've been selling homes for over 10 years. In most cases, the person that drew the contract up is drawing it up in their favor. So our job is to go in there and find any funny language, make sure that the terms are, if they not as favorable to you, make them more favorable. We might not be able to get everything that we asking for or looking for, but definitely not allow you to enter into a bad agreement, and make sure that you also have the best fit. That's something that I really hold a high regard. And that's the most important thing to me. It's not always about the most money. I'm aiming to get you top dollar, but I want to make sure that you got the best fit where you're going to go in and fit in culture wise. I don't want you going out to a program all the way on the West Coast when you're born and raised in South Louisiana if that's not going to fit for you culture wise. But then I also want to make sure that you are getting into an institution that's you're going to be able to get a high level education. And I want all three of those things to go together: culture, education, and get you some money. So what's your take on that?
I mean, I'm 1,000% in agreement with you, and I think I think that leads into maybe the question is saying like, if all NIL agents aren't created equal, why or how? You know what I'm saying? Whatever. And so it's good to come in and say that my background is in marketing and this, that, and the third or whatever. I always think that it's better if an NFL agent has the time that you should have an NFL agent as an NIL agent. Everybody doesn't play in that space, but what does that mean? It means that you got somebody with perspective. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, with the long game in mind. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, like, hey, we get guys or whatever, and they're going on. I'll just explain it to one guy today. We get guys, and it's good to, I'm not trying to talk about any particular school, but we know that coming out of the draft, especially coming to all-star games or then going to local days are 50 to 100 miles, from a league facility, whether from where you live, from where you go to school. What does that look like when you're one and done and and if you don't have the best showing in your senior year and you go to Troy or UAB? Now, I'm not saying it's a desert. I'm saying that you're not going to get one or two free bites at the apple because you're more than 100 miles away from Atlanta, from the Falcons, and damn sure more than 100 miles away from the Titans to the north, and all the way down to the Saints, in southwest of there. And so, when I'm looking at that, whatever, it's a small factor, but it's something to be considered. You know what I'm saying? Whatever.
No, it's a large factor because I just went through that this past draft, 2025 draft. Desmond went out there and balled his ass off at that pro day. However, you want to be able to, you got another guy signed that is in proximity to two particular NFL clubs and was able to go get that additional film or go be on campus, for lack of a better term, go be in the facility at an NFL facility, talking to these guys, getting measured in person, being able to interview in person. He wasn't able to do that. We weren't able to get him out there to the Falcons, weren't able to get him over here to New Orleans. And so I think that could have helped quite a bit if he had an opportunity to go in attend a local day. But like you said, those are the things that the average agent isn't thinking about if they're trying to put you in a position that's going to really be in your best interest up front. Whereas if you're working with an NFL agent, those more than likely, we've looked at the long-term potential, and a lot of these different scenarios have already happened, or we've talked with somebody who kind of given us advice on these things, so we kind of know what to look out for in that situation. But no, I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, I mean, it just kind of hit a pain point because it's like, man, I'm calling all over the damn place trying to figure out who can I call to try to get him into a local day with Atlanta, try to get him into a local day with New Orleans, because Alabama does not have a pro team. Growing up in Mississippi, we do not have a pro team. If you at Jackson State, if you at Ole Miss, if you at Mississippi State, I mean, those are big programs, SEC programs. So you're going to get the exposure that you need at that pro day. But at the same time, I mean, you're just not going to be able to go and hit up a pro day without a pro team being in that state.
Yeah, and it means you need to front load your schedule. You need to front load it onto all-star games. And we're still talking about the portal, I'm saying, whatever, but I'm saying what is your first move with your next move in mind? And so an NFL agent provides that sort of perspective, I'm saying, whatever, that they can see the whole field going forward. Some NFL agents don't really do the portal, like, I don't say what deal, whatever, but I got a call, about a deal that went wrong with a quarterback last year. And I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they ain't put it on paper, whatever. And every handshake for what it was considered, like, there's some good, solid NFL agencies that don't do the portal well, and what is doing the portal is not just about signing guys, like I said, and riding guys into the sunset and getting a little check. It's about knowing what those conversations being had, whatever. This is like speed dating, it's acquired taste. I love the portal because every school has their own paper. It's not like a standard form, like an SRA or anything like that. Every school has their own paper. Every school does different. And so, like I said, if you thrive in chaos, you can probably show up a little bit better than some other people do.
Absolutely.
The other side of it is that, there's a lot of other people that maybe not as qualified, and they can win on recruiting, and you don't know you got a bad agent until it's too late.
until it's too
You don't
late.
know till you sign that deal with school X, and they had a good number. You got 500,000, but nobody was able to read the paperwork. I'm saying you don't know there's a clause in there that says, hey, when I get injured, I'm saying my money goes down to 100,000. Or you get an agent that's super flamboyant and say, hey, we're gonna red shirt, I'm saying, whatever, and you can't even threaten certain schools in certain, with certain paper, or they're gonna sit you down. They're gonna pay you a scholarship and make sure you got enough to live and breathe, but that's about it. And so like we do pre-consulting for guys that we didn't even get in and on, because people mess up and they don't realize they just signed with the wrong person, or somebody just really don't know what they're doing. They recruited them just enough to get them as a client, and the work is there. I'm saying it's scheduling your recruiting, creating leverage in your recruiting process, negotiating the number and knowing how much every school has to spend, I'm saying, based off of how they see you, I'm saying, whatever, get it on paper, making sure the conversation matches the paper, I'm saying, which is a big thing, I'm saying, whatever, then turn around and you got it on paper and you're making sure your money is guaranteed, I'm saying, whatever, then get in the paper, and literally they still put you in the dumb athlete pile, for lack of a better term that we probably use, and that you got to have somebody check them every step along the way, shake that paper in the hand like, hey, you said this is what it is, what it does. I'm gonna have to crack after you, I'm saying, whatever, if this don't do, and those things are all important, all the way down through compliance. If it's a marketing deal, it's no different. And so having somebody that knows what college is, knowing what the ecosystem is, knowing what the pro place is, and being able to connect those dots, that's what you call wise counsel. I'm saying, whatever. And it's only a few people that's really in that space that had and put all those pieces together.
Right. And exactly what you just said in terms of being able to go to these folks and check them, being able to go let these folks know, hey, I'm educated as well. I'm qualified, I'm certified, and I'm representing this kid. And this ain't good paper. I think that I wouldn't say a lot of conversations I've had with parents is that they don't have the confidence in most cases that that's a good idea, that they're gonna have someone go and stand up to these folks, someone go in and basically call them on their bullshit. They just, I mean, it's like I don't even know what the term, but
Yeah,
they're kind of going into this thinking, I don't want to mess this up. Maybe
yeah,
if I hire an agent, maybe he's gonna go and mess it up. No, I'm not gonna mess it up. I'm gonna save you from going into something that may not be reversible.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the value equation. You got a little time to establish trust with people you don't know, and you gotta respect the fact that they don't know you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And don't trust you. Like I had plenty of mamas. You got to pull up and let them look you in the eye. You know what I'm saying? And you know
Yeah.
what's going on in their head when they look you in the eye. You have to prove yourself. But a good agent is worth its weight in gold. You know what I'm saying? NFL 3%. You saying whatever? Like some people trying to save 3%. No, like I'm gonna make that 97% bigger. You know what I'm saying?
Bigger.
Whatever. Or even the portal, like, hey, what does it look like if you negotiate a deal and your money is not guaranteed? That's not worth the paper it's written on. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. And so when you can establish, like yourself, Mike, I like to think of like myself, whatever, when you can get a good agent in a room that you got advice that you can trust and that's going to really do those things, and you can kind of let go of those things. For parents, you can be a parent, you can cheer, you know what I'm saying, whatever. Like you want to be that. You don't want to have to be everything all the time, whatever. It's a good person to be able to walk alongside your family.
For sure.
It's tough. It's tough to find it, but when you find it, it's like finding a wife. Like for business, it's really like finding a wife. You find a wife, find a good thing. Like hey,
Yeah.
it's one of those things.
Yeah. Because if this all works out the way that most athletes have in mind, that, hey, I'm going to go and ball out at school, I'm going to the league, I'm going to have a long career in the league. I mean, we're talking about, 10, 15 years here. I mean, there's going to be some highs, there's going to be some lows. Who knew that Neelan was going through what he was going through? We got a
Yeah,
24-year-old guy that's mental health issues over here. Maybe if he had a sound agent, and I'm not saying his agent wasn't sound. I don't know who his agent was. I mean, I read the article and the name didn't ring
yeah,
a bell at the time, but I'm not. Let me before anybody says that I'm calling his agent out on this, but I mean, it's just one of those things that there's so many things that can happen that will happen over the course of a career, especially if you stay in it long enough. You got to make sure, like you said, you are choosing that person with care. And I know that you and I mean, we stand on business, and man, I always tell people, man, you can pull my resume. I don't know.
Yeah.
There ain't a person out there that I can confidently tell you that if they not hating, just straight up hating, that's gonna have a bad thing to say about me. And so both of our resumes speak volumes, impeccable in my opinion. So I think we got a good shot at this thing moving forward. What you think? I mean, we're gonna wrap it up here in just a minute, but I mean, what you got coming up in terms of like all-star games? I mean, I know we still gotta, figure out what's going on in terms of who's coming on board, who's not coming on board, and what we looking like in January. But just assuming, let's just say you don't have anybody in the all-star games. Are you going to go full circuit this winter and go to all the games? You're gonna hit Shrine up, Senior Bowl.
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. Whatever. We always build relationships, understanding understanding, having a good understanding of who you are, have good understanding of what you're not. Whatever, and always, like I said, we get some wins, but we gotta keep going and keep moving and keep pushing forward. And so that requires, like I said, humbling yourself outside of having clients that's 20, 22 years old. That will humble you real quick when you get fired by a 22-year-old. But, saying in the middle of it, just adding value every step along the way, and so knowing that you're working and you build a relationship and adding value. When you talk about mental health, we're in the age of, like I said, we're in the age of mental health. We're in the age of mental fragility, and we're in the age of CTE and all that stuff, whatever. And it's real. It's not a player that's 30, 40 years old is retiring. It's an athlete that's been playing, because when we were young, we used to play 3 sports, 4 sports, whatever. Now guys that play basketball play basketball year round. They work in them same joints and burning them out. These guys that playing football is taking contact a lot of times year round, or in some places more often than what they were. I'm seeing signs in some guys, whatever, outside of having a client here or there that might be, schizophrenic or have issues with anxiety. We colloquialize it. We call it crash outs, whatever. But these are young men that have real problems that don't have resources around them or people to stop and slow down and say, how are you doing? And if you're not doing fine, whatever, let's go figure that out, whatever. That's what a real agent should be doing, whatever. Now, back to All-Star games, All-Star games is crazy this year. We got 2 new All-Star games, one. We could always count on some things that were steady. We could always count on Jim Nagy being at the Senior Bowl. He's the GM at Oklahoma now, whatever. Right. And so we got to deal new and make it happen and figure. And so I'm looking forward to that. But, it's not a steady, we're going to make a call, we're going to do these things, whatever. You got Eric Galko. Eric Galko is like the senior statesman right now for Shrine, because he's literally the only person that's the same, this year. And he's been a good ally and been great on the scouting. I'm always looking to learn from him of what he sees. And so when I'm asking, so I can see the world through his eyes before I'm coming and asking for something, whatever, that I can give him what he needs, whatever. We're servants in that way. We got Hula and we know the guys from Draft Diamonds and everything that be, David Talbot and Jimmy Williams and those guys, whatever, but they shifted out last year, and there was a new leadership there, and that's even changing over much more again. And so, thriving in what the director of the Tropical Bowl died, had a heart attack, whatever.
Really?
So for the community, for what it was in this last year, there's a loss there. And then I think for Ike, whatever, his brother is taking over. And so, shifting into that, but also understanding what the nuances are with that, and trying to hit the ground hard, but understanding that why he's in this position and all the other things that's happening, whatever, I'm interested in trying to figure out, new ways about that. And then there's 2 new balls, and then we got CGS, their director, is Jose Jefferson is the GM over at FIU. And so, so as we kind of shift, it is about, part of it is trying not to major in the minor, but the devil's in the detail. That's a conundrum. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Trying not to get so burdened down with details that you can't focus on who you are, what your players are, and what they need to do, but realize you win when you master details. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. So this is gonna be a trip. We need to be down there. You know what I'm saying? We got to be down there shaking hands and learning new people and learning new things and whatever. Hey, UFL fired all the GMs. I was glad to have, everybody's cell phone number. It's also good to have a couple of numbers for the EVPs and stuff like that when things need to go, because there's a lot of people that don't know who to call and a lot of call or haven't built those relationships. Those are the things that set you apart. And so,
because I just got a disconnected UFL number just yesterday. That thing we were working on trying to get that film.
Mm-hmm.
I just got a disconnected number just yesterday, and I don't know if that's more of a, hey, I'm in my feelings, or just really like, hey, I don't know what my next move is, and
it's not my job to help you.
Right?
It's not my problem. That's what it is.
So it's crazy out there, but just like you said, I mean, I knew the answer to that question before I even asked you. I knew you were hitting everything. I know, because that's how you roll. That's how you roll. That's how we both roll. Just like you said, I'm gonna close it out on that note. For anybody that's listening, y'all already know we've been putting boots on the ground. You can expect to see us on the scene. You can expect to just kind of know that we'll be there. We'll be shaking hands, kissing babies, and we'll be, making it do what it do. So I appreciate y'all for coming on, Dwayne.
And we cut razor sharp contracts. We get to the money. We get to the money too. You can say that.
We get to the money, baby. I mean, I'm trying to tell y'all, you about to see something a little bit different from what you used to see. I can't predict the future, obviously. We don't hold all the cards in our hand. We can work, but if it still don't work out with a particular person coming on board, then it just don't work out. But we're not giving up. We're not giving up. We're building on our successes. I guarantee y'all see a lot of good things coming out of QSE Sports and out of the Prototype Sports Agency. Dwayne, I appreciate you for coming on today. You got anything else you want to say in closing remarks?
Absolutely. If you don't want to see your agent dancing around in the shiny suit in the music video, come on over to Death Row.
hey, we get it. We on the move. Hey, at the end of the day, it's a lot of shady characters out there that have been kind of presenting themselves and just kind of trying to dust your shoulders off and get them out the way. But you got to be doing something good for those folks to be popping up in the picture. So I applaud it. I have nothing but respect for anybody that does try to come be a part of this greatness that they see. But like I said, we're gonna move wise, and we're gonna make sure that we make good decisions, bring good people on board, and surround ourselves with even better people. So like I said, man, it's been a pleasure today to have you on. I'm sure we'll continue to do this. But this being episode 2 for my show, Life of a Trendsetter, I can't thank you enough for coming on. For the audience out there, thank y'all for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button. We'll see y'all next time.
Appreciate you, Mike.
Peace.